After finishing the main story fully and diving deep into the endgame content, I have some tips that will really help you avoid making some of the mistakes I made while playing through for my first time. Now, the first thing most of you guys are probably going to want to do is unlocking new characters off the jump, because it's part of the fun in this game is trying out new characters. But I recommend not doing that. While this might sound dumb, hear me out. Unlocking new characters early on will actually make it more tedious to level later in the game, since the later you are in the game, the more mastery you will have already unlocked for a brand new character, helping you pretty much remove a large part of the grind. And while I'm not a fan of feeling like you need to wait until late game just to unlock a unit, this is still really useful since you're just basically skipping part of the grind, which, hey, that's awesome. So when you first start, pick one unit to unlock that you like and focus every single MSP into them. And once you get to late game, then you can start unlocking more characters since their mastery will be unlocked. I believe it's to 50 to 60% is the max, which saves you a lot of time on grinding. The next tip may seem obvious to some, but I know there are plenty of gamers out there just like me that ignore stuff like this. Make sure to do your side quests. They provide you with lots of great upgrade materials and sigils, as well as coins and even mastery points. And from my experience, I've just been kind of picking them up and they'll complete without me ever really needing to focus on them outside of maybe just a few. So don't worry, they aren't really a hassle. Just go pick them up from the vendors, and then at some point you'll probably come back and they'll be complete. My tip for sigils is to not upgrade them early on at all. I know in the moment it might seem like a nice little increase going from attack 1 to attack 3, and I may have done it to a few of them, but it just ended up being a waste of materials, not worth my time, because the later you get in the game, in both main story and endgame, you will constantly be getting better rarities of similar sigils you already have. And then not to mention, there are things like the Knack Vouchers, which will allow you to get more and more sigils from grinding. You can even use a lot of the basic ones that you had from level 1 to 3 to use as fuel to actually get Knack Vouchers. Now, speaking of Knack Vouchers, this tip is how you can obtain loads of them for focusing more sigils and stones while also farming for character XP and mastery points. So head over to the quest counter, select Undertake Quest, and slide over to Buy Type. Here you can see descriptions for what you can expect to gain from each type of quest, which is very useful, but for this specifically, we're going to be clicking on Survival. Once you reach post game and get to the extreme difficulty, you will get this quest called Assault Formation, which can provide you with really good XP farm to take your characters up to level 100 pretty quickly, as well as be an easy farm for rupees, Raphael coins, mastery points, and the machine unit material that you can actually use to fuse into Knack Vouchers to fund into getting more sigils. This quest is one of the easiest ways to mitigate a lot of tedious grinding for fully maximizing your characters. Not to mention, you can actually use this as an AFK farm, which I might explain in another video if you are interested. Now, this simple tip can help you obtain 2 extra sigil slots and free stats to all of your characters on your roster. This comes from Fate episodes. They're short story dialogue missions that explain more about each character themselves, and they even provide 2 extra actual combat missions for obtaining extra sigil slots for the characters. This is something I highly recommend doing since it's just a free stat boost and sigil slots to help enhance builds. If you are familiar with crafting weapons in Monster Hunter, then this tip is something you'll already be used to. When looking at required materials for crafting weapons or upgrading weapons, there is the ability to actually track the material that is needed, which you can then check under each quest rewards to see if the material drops. You will know it when you see the little magnifying glass hovering over the material. This is a really useful tool that I know a lot of people will overlook, but is something I've used to help me out a lot in Monster Hunter games, and is going to continue to be something that I will use all the time in this game. Another tip to add on to the last one is to craft all the weapons for characters. While I know you can only use one, every single one can actually provide passive stat bonuses to your character, some that are actually really strong as well. I will say it is definitely more important to, of course, level the weapon you are set on using, but leveling the others on the side here and there to get the extra bonuses will provide a lot of extra stats for your character. Now, an interesting gameplay tip that I actually learned from people in the community is that when you use your ultimate skill, allies on your team will gain 10% of their ultimate bar back as well. So effectively, your whole team can use their ultimate skills. Let's say if you had 100 energy, another has 90, another has 80, and the last ally has 70. This can help in being able to cycle ultimates a lot faster, and this is really useful since ultimate skills can be used to stun bosses, pause the quest timer, which can be really helpful for completing extra objectives on quests, and of course dishing out really good damage. It is also important to keep in mind the elemental weakness of bosses, since whoever uses their first ultimate will be the damage dealt by the full burst at the end. This really isn't something to worry about for early game, but it is helpful to learn for later game when content does get a lot harder. This tip is one I ignored till I nearly finished the campaign since I thought really nothing of it. But inside of Lyria's journal, you can actually obtain rewards from completing triumphs, which will consist of upgrade materials, colors for character customization, and even sigils. Now, I'm the type of player who ignores things sometimes in games, so make sure to take a look at this every once in a while and hit the claim button to get any extra rewards you may have missed. Now, the last and most important tip in my opinion is to raise your damage cap in the game. This is something I even just completely glanced over and didn't pay attention to, but in the game there is actually a cap to how much damage you can do, regardless of how much crit damage, bonus damage, or attack percent you put into your kit. The only way at a certain point to increase your damage is from mastery unlocks that raise your damage cap for certain types of attacks, and then with the damage cap sigil. While your skill tree is something you will already unlock passively by playing the game, the damage cap sigils will be your way to really push your damage even further, since it boosts all of your damage and can also go all the way up to level 65, which I believe is a 250% increase to your damage cap. I hope this video can help out those who are like me and skip a lot of important stuff because you don't really feel like reading anything or caring about anything outside of what's just fun in the game, which is the combat, and also anyone who's just trying to learn more about the game. Leave any extra tips you guys may have to help out others. I'd love this video to be just a big post of everyone helping out other gamers. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. If you do enjoy the content, a like and sub would be greatly appreciated. See you guys in the next one. Peace! Okay, one last thing before I go. I'm going to be making a new video series on build guides for characters. Probably going to start with Zeta first since she's the first one that I've fully played through maxed out. May do Fairy next, but we'll see. So let me know in the comments of any characters you guys would like me to see done next. And yeah, I'll get them done. Anyway, see you guys.